Welcome to Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price. This podcast has been designed to address business pain points, often neglected, but if dealt with correctly, can really enhance business value and performance. I've had over 30 years' experience in business, and I currently own JPA Business Proprietary Limited, a business valuation, advisory, and transaction firm. We help private business clients across Australia and internationally grow, change, and enhance the value of their businesses. Welcome back to Let's Talk Business. I'm your host, James Price, and this is episode 30. I could be wrong, but I kind of lost count, but I think it is episode 30. And today is a pretty interesting little journey into the world of apps and AI and robots. And the pleasure of having Laith Alamin with us here. And Laith is, they call him a robot whisperer. No, don't call him a robot whisperer. What do you do, Laith? Talk to me.
Okay. Thank you for having me here today.
No,
James.
it's a pleasure.
Really it's a pleasure. What I do is I'm an RPA engineer or RPA developer. So what RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. Sort of is in the name as well. What we do is we train robots to automate processes that humans usually do.
Wow.
Yeah. Another way to put it through is, we train robots to replace humans, but not everything. I mean, that's put that statement in quotations. Robots not capable of doing what humans can do at the moment, but they could be beneficial in different ways.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's a big topic, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically training a bunch of dudes to replace what we do.
If you want to put it in that way, sure. But listen, humans are great in a lot of things. Critical thinking, brainstorming, decision making, humans are good. When it comes to consistency, like that for tasks such as data entry, reporting, we're not so great.
Yeah.
We tend to always get sometimes a little bit lazy and inconsistent with the data. And like in the future, this can cause a little bit of issues for companies, especially or businesses, especially if they're sort of running at scale. Incorporating robots in these sort of scenarios is a no-brainer in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're very consistent.
Yeah.
Very accurate, and they get to work whenever you want them to work.
So is it the repetitive tasks that are the main game for robots? Is that what they're good at?
This is precisely what they're good at, and this is the best used application. But that's sort of the limitation for how robots and where AI is at the moment. But that's the case. Thinking about it, when I said at the moment, we can see all these big companies jumping into AI with AI developments and getting to the point where it's really hard to tell what the limit is. And with every year, new models are coming up. So, but as we are speaking at the moment, I think the robots that we are talking about, that we're going to talk about today, usually specifically are very good at doing the repetitive tasks.
I want to come back to that, right? Because there's obviously a lot of, my clients are business clients, males, females in all sorts of industries across Australia and around the world. Yeah. And in those businesses, there are a lot of repetitive tasks. So I want to talk more detail about just what you're up to in that space, right? And what value robots are adding. But first, how did you get into this game, man? Tell us a bit about, the young Laith at 12, 13, right? What was he doing? Where was he and what was he doing?
Honestly, funny story, James. It started with playing video games. The sort of games like Minecraft. A lot of people could know about Minecraft, where you use these redstone blocks and pistons and you sort of automate a process. And you get to realize it's like, all right, now I'm getting ahead of the game and I'm not even really playing the game.
Yeah.
And that what sort of sparked this interest of mine into robotics and into AI and see into these automations things, like how far can we push it?
Yeah, right.
Imagine the whole notion of getting things done without you being there, and things could be done exactly how you want them to be. Yeah. Very consistently, very fast. Then the whole story. And I guess that's how slowly I got into it, and then started doing some programming. That sparked my interest in engineering. Jumped into university. I'm currently a final year, going to graduate soon.
Yeah.
And that's how it all started.
So what university course are you doing?
Doing mechatronics and robotics engineering, minoring in automation.
At Western Sydney, right?
Western Sydney University.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And What is it? Megatronics?
Megatronics and robotics. So megatronics engineering, it's an engineering where you sort of look into different disciplines of engineering. It's like jack of all trades, master of none, but still better than a master of one.
Okay, so you're a bit of a civil engineer and you're a bit of a structural engineer and you're a bit of a
I wouldn't put it so much
mechanical.
into civil.
No?
I would say more of electrical, mechanical, and software engineer mostly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Precisely, that's what it is. Yeah.
Engineer.
Yeah.
Dry, calculated, process orientated. Is that you?
Exactly. Fully logical. Follow the process. Get it done.
No creativity whatsoever.
That's something. That's why you need a good team with you, James. That's why you need a good team. Creativity is not my strong suit. That's for sure.
It isn't.
It's not. No.
Is that because robots can't be creative?
There's no need for them to be creative. They're not designed to be creative. Creativity, as I said, robots where we are at the moment, they're not very creative. Leave the creativity to the humans. That's what they're good at.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the whole notion of like the idea of getting into robotics. Like, don't let the people do the boring, repetitive tasks. Let them do what they really enjoy doing.
Yes.
Let them make decisions.
Yeah.
Instead of wasting your time and sort of diving deeper into these manual tasks that are repetitive, which is very crucial for anybody, not just in business, but even in your personal life, in order to sort of be consistent and keep moving forward and getting better and better.
Yeah.
You need to have these processes in place and tedious and very manual. Get them out of the way.
Yeah,
Do what you really love doing.
I listen to you, right, and
Yeah.
I get a lot. I feel a lot of energy, a lot of passion, right, and I'm just intrigued, right? Like, what do what's the buzz you get out of it? Is it the simplicity of, well, it's not. It's clearly it doesn't. It's probably not simplicity. It's complexity, right? But is it the fact that you're making something to do something that previously humans did? Is that what's exciting about it? Like, what?
I find what I pride myself in is the quality of my work. For example, one of the projects that I've tackled recently, there's a big process where it's a bunch of finance and they try to move some bills around from one place to another. Okay?
So payment of creditors or
it's mostly AP.
Okay.
It's an AP process, and it's get a bit tedious the way the finance team had it set it up. Because you got to download the invoice, and sometimes you got to have like 50, 60 invoices, and you have to download the PDFs, rename them in a certain manner, paste them, add the necessary information, put them under the right code, and do all that. Now,
is there humans keying all that information in?
Before, yes.
Yeah.
There was a human that would sit there, download them one by one, rename them, and there's a certain naming syntax that needs to be followed. For example, name, underscore, number, whatever.
Yeah.
So it took a while. That job took multiple hours in a week, every day, to sort of get done. And what really gives me that buzz is when I was able to create a sort of system, all right?
Yes.
Where in a click of the button, a robot starts to, and when I say robot, guys, I'm referring to digital robots.
It's a digital robot,
So
right? But it's a robot, right?
It's a robot, yeah. It's a digital robot in a way. So what the robot is doing is it learned. I sat with that person and they taught me what they do. And then from that knowledge, I sort of taught the robot what needs to do as well. And then what's happening now is that person is now doing what they really like doing, which is doing financial analysis. And this is something I want to get into as well.
Yes.
When he's doing his analysis now, he's free this time. He doesn't have to do all this manual tasks of moving the bills around. Like, business is getting better. It's like, okay, now we're a $5 million dollar business at the moment. Right?
Yes.
All right, let's look at the data. Let's do some financial analysis. Let's see what can be done for us to get to the point where we need to be at. And this is what businesses in general, like, they should look at is, all right, let's free up these manual tasks. Let's not just worry about it the whole time. And let's think about how can we be efficient? How can we grow the business? How can we increase our market share?
Right. So you're saying the human had his or her head in the repetitive task continuously, but now as a result of these robots coming in and doing that effectively, the human's looking over what's going on and able to look at the information that's being created and make decisions about improvements in the business.
100%. You don't have, it's something off your mind. That's something you don't have to worry about. So as a manager, you need to worry about what other people and how the data looks like.
Yeah.
It's so business. I'm not very business savvy. That's from my very small experience, and you can let me know if I'm wrong. But it's like multiple teams trying to communicate together. So you got the operations, you got the
Yes.
finance and sales, and trying to communicate together using different softwares and all that sort of stuff. Now every team, they need to follow a certain procedure in order to sort of keep the business up and running.
Yeah.
The manager for the team, what they do is they make sure that the people in the team are sort of inputting the information or doing the work in the correct manner, so other teams can use. Sales are getting their deals, putting the right information in, so the finance could process the payments, operations can get the job done, and sort of following that sense.
And a business could have different software systems for each of those components, right?
That's true. And see, the bridging in between these softwares and these teams, it's very crucial to have the input information correct, like the data input in consistent manner. And what a manager of the team would do in that case is they would spend most of their time trying to make sure that, all right, business is running.
Yes.
Let's say that's something manager doesn't have to worry about anymore. It's consistent. It's reliable.
So the robots take over that role.
Exactly. In a scenario where a robot are there helping these teams move the data around in order to keep running the business. Let the robot run the business. What the managers will feel themselves doing now is like, okay, how can we reach bigger market cap? How can we sort of improve the business and because they don't have to worry about the other things anymore. The business is running.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I get the feeling that you spoke about a number of different teams, different software systems, right?
True.
Information flowing. Laith, is that where the breakdowns in the human system works? Like from one team to another, or one system to another, or is that, I mean, you suggested, humans aren't good at repetitive tasks. Now, is that because it breaks down? There's an element of failure in the system. Is that where these little beasts of yours come into play, or?
That's a very good point, James. Now, these bridging between these softwares, humans are doing it already, and it's working for most people. But the humans are really inconsistent. All right, I'll tell you something. A very good friend of mine, he's a psychologist, and he studies in human behavior. People tend to put pride into the amount of effort they put into something, which in my opinion, that's completely fine. But in my opinion it's not really true. You should, if you spend hours and hours writing this huge Excel sheet for a bunch of reporting, and you putting it there, but the data itself in the Excel sheet is not very consistent, it's not very reliable. When you're using filters, if you have a dash or a space, in a space where it doesn't have to be, it sort of ruins the whole filtering system, and then you need to go back and look at the data and where did he mess up? Where was he inconsistent? And the humans are prone to mistake when it comes to repetitive tasks. Now, this is where robots could be great, because it helps bridge this information between some software to another software. Every team, they're using different software, as you mentioned, and the automation would play a big role in bridging those softwares together and getting.
So I mean, that's really interesting. Like, look, my audience are business owners between 500,000 in turnover, and the biggest I think is probably 950 million, right? And they're mostly private businesses. And I'm sure that every one of them would have experienced data failures or issues with the data that impacted reporting or impacted the process or impacted payment of invoices or whatever. If you think of big business versus small business, is what you're talking about only applicable to big business, or is it more applicable to smaller business?
It's a very, very interesting question. So the way I think about it, and I want to also address another issue that might be arising in the media at the moment, that what I'm doing is evil. That if I keep doing what I'm doing,
The robot whisperer, the evil man. Hey, look at him. Come on, tell me.
If I keep doing what I'm doing, or other developers keep improving these AIs, that at some point they're gonna come and they'll take over the jobs. And listen, that could be true for big companies, but I have a different theory.
Yeah.
Smaller
yeah,
ones.
Yeah.
I think smaller companies could benefit more from these automations.
Okay.
And the reason behind it is when you get to free up the skills that you have
Mm.
from doing these all repetitive tasks in a smaller company,
Mm.
the people now, as I mentioned before, stop doing this repetitive task and move into the business side of things.
Yeah.
You got people who are doing account management and people who are doing sales. Okay, now account management could be like
Yeah.
sort of managed by the robots.
Yes.
Jump into sales, get more clients, grow in business,
Yeah.
grow. On the other hand, a big company, the like let's say IBM,
Yeah.
they've reached the saturated. They reached the top of the market. There's not much that they can get bigger or sort of get.
Oh, so you're saying they've got a big market share,
Yeah,
and so their improvements are only very incremental.
yeah, true.
Yeah, very small. I mean, it might be over a large volume,
Mm-hmm.
but you're saying the smaller company, if they can enhance productivity dramatically by getting some of your robots in place,
Yeah,
they could move from a 2% market share to a 10%
yeah.
in a quite a short space of time if they were smart about it. Is that
That's precisely what I'm saying. Now, for a big company to sort of find a similar, there'll be like incremental improvements. Yeah, for a big company that could be a lot of money. Yeah, but what's gonna happen is these people who don't no longer have to do their jobs like data entry or the manual stuff and replaced by the robots. Unfortunately, they're gonna have to let go because there's nothing much for them to reach. But for a smaller company, on the
don't
other hand,
robots need looking after? Someone to
They do.
put them to bed at night or something?
they do. They do break sometimes.
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 Do they?
But when they do, it's very, very easy to sort of just jump in, look at what the issue is, and fix it. And it doesn't happen that often. It's very, very extremely rare. But instead of having one person who sort of understands the process, could look after multiple robots doing multiple
Yes.
things in different departments instead
Yeah,
of having
yeah.
multiple people doing the work that the robots are doing, if that makes any sense.
That does.
So in terms
yeah.
of a logical point of view, is the return of investment is great.
So it seems to me that for, small and mid-sized companies, there's potentially quite an opportunity here for particularly repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, it's both cost saving in terms of, let's be frank about it, head count,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So in other words, I can process so many thousand invoices with, X amount less humans as a result. But also you're saying there's not just a cost saving, there's a revenue gain if some of those roles are redeployed and or the information that's gained from putting the robots to work is more valuable to use in terms of growing the business.
Precisely.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I should be a poster boy for robots, right? Like
Yeah. We should definitely work together to try to build robots for people, make the world a better place, a more automated place, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, it's fascinating, isn't it? Like,
And yeah, it's gonna happen inevitably. There's nothing that really a lot of people can do about it. Now with this is just the nature of business. Everybody's in competition with everybody. If I can reduce my costs and still keep the same results or keep the business running,
yeah,
if you don't really start looking into these options that businesses are moving into, you're gonna be left behind.
so this is the competitive advantage opportunity.
100%. Business. I think business is war, sort of, in a way.
Sorry, businesses.
Is war. People are always fighting. People are always in competition.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna get the next job? Who's gonna get the bigger market share? Yeah. So people are gonna start incorporating these new technologies into the work and into the businesses. The earlier they do, they'll have a great advantage over the others.
Yeah.
And and definitely recommend people to have a look into how these could fit into their company. Now I'll tell you something. We've really spoke about very limited sort of scenarios, but keep in mind AI and these automations and RPA developer. Yeah, these tools are really powerful, and you can get to automate if you have the right, I'll say, ecosystem. I'll get back to that in a moment.
Yeah.
You can really get to automate a grand scale, almost run a whole business on it in a way. Like if you look at these huge enterprise level automation, I'm not there yet. I haven't had a chance to build one. Hopefully soon. uh, you'll be able to sort of view the power of these automations on a bigger scale.
But it sounds to me like, I mean, the old way of looking at business was that, you know, as you grew, you developed legacy systems. So you might have had Zero for your accounting system, or MYOB or SAP, and you had some other system for your orders and quotes, and then you might have had a different payroll system. It sounds to me like what, you know, the old way was, you know, throw all those systems out and get an enterprise solution, right? A software solution. Now, it sounds to me like you're saying, well, no, the robots can actually work between those systems to bring them all together. Is that effectively it?
That's something that robots can definitely do.
Yeah.
I understand these enterprise systems are very expensive and very hard to sort of incorporate into the business.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, robots, if done properly, could do what these enterprise
Yes.
softwares are actually doing at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the thing is about it is it's really customizable. You get to do whatever you want to do. The process will do, and this is great about it. Now, when you sort of integrate or sort of get these new enterprise softwares to run in your company, now you have to change the way you do business to fit the software.
Yes, yes.
But if you really don't want to go that route,
Yeah, yeah.
you can build yourself a automation process that fits how you want like to run your business in that sort of manner. So
Yeah.
you're the one in control at this point, because it's really customizable. Because I'm sitting there with you. Let's say you're someone who wants to do some
Yes.
automation.
Yeah,
You have in mind how the process you would like the process to be and how you'd like the process to stay. Because
Yes.
people don't like change at all.
yes.
People would like to keep the process as similar as they can. Or if you want to change, have it as incremental change over
Yeah,
X period of
I
time.
understand. Yeah.
Now, the process will be exactly how you want it to be at some point. You don't have to change how you run your business.
I think that's an interesting point. I've been involved over the years with many of our clients, and we've helped them implement enterprise systems, right? And one of the failures of implementing enterprise systems is that a lot of businesses go about it the wrong way. They think that the enterprise system is a silver bullet to fixing up all their crappy processes and making things so much better. And so they go and buy one off the shelf and put it in. And the key step they miss is they don't look at their business processes up front and decide whether those processes are the ones they want to keep or they're happy to change. And so what happens is the enterprise system's in and they've still got the old business processes, and the two just, you know, have all sorts of issues because, as you say, the humans that are working the system, they're not used to change. They're used to doing things a certain way, you know, quite respectively, because that's the way they've done it. And so it can cause a new system in an organization, in any business, can cause a lot of constipation, if I can put it that way, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Yeah.
And to the point where it can affect business performance. So I'm kind of interested in the robots because what you're saying is, well, you can kind of leverage the existing systems, software systems, and the existing behaviors and processes. It's more about, you know, joining the two to make them operate more efficiently together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I'm trying to get to, James. You put it very, very nicely. But unfortunately, there's still some sort of challenges that comes from a human side. You got to keep in mind that a human used to do that, and now a human doesn't have to do it. And
Yeah.
the process is not changing. The end results are sort of the output of the process,
Yes.
whether it's done by a human or by a robot, still remain the same.
Yeah.
But humans usually are sort of against it. As I mentioned to you before, people put pride in how much effort and time they put into something, not
Yes.
into the result.
Yeah.
And I for me, as an engineer, I guess I found that a little bit illogical. It's not about how much time you put into something.
It should be the outcome, right?
Yeah, it's like, what sort of outcome is getting out of it? What's the output? You put some X amount, but you've turned out to do a very shit outcome. I mean, what am I supposed to do with your outcome? You know what I mean? It's like, no, calm down for a bit. Look at what you're doing. If you want to spend extra time, go ahead. But refund the process that you're doing so I can have the outcome that I'm looking for. And for the users and the applications for the robots that I've personally tackled, I've seen that robots are doing much better jobs than than humans are doing, and it's extremely fast, They're really fast.
But you can see, I mean, it's a pretty deep issue, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a human, right? And I've been sitting at my desk processing invoices for 20 years. I'm good at it. I think I'm good at it. I come in early. I'm only supposed to come in at 9 o'clock. I come in at 7:30 because I've got a mountain of work, and I work all day, and I go home to pick up the kids late after school care at 5:30. And I do that every day of the week, and I'm loyal to the company. I've been there 20 years. And then this robot whisperer comes in and says to me, listen, if we do this, this, and this, and this, you'll be able to do that in half the time. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, hold on. I need a full-time job. That's what I do. I do a bloody good job. It's a hard road, isn't it? Like, no wonder there's pushback, right?
100%.
You know, and if I take that a bit further, it's beyond robots a bit. You know, if I look at business over the years, there's two types of team cultures, and it comes from the top. There's one type that, and it's not very modern, but I can tell you it still exists in the world of business very much, and that is you got to occupy the chair at your desk for the hours of the business, right? And that's the focus. The focus is time-based employment, right? There's another type of culture, and that is it's not about time, it's about the value of what you deliver. Whether you're there for 1 minute, 1 hour, or 10 hours, I'm more interested in what value you created today or value potential you created for the future. And, you know, frankly, I don't mind whether your backside is in that chair or not in terms of doing that. Now, they're very different work cultures. And I'd hesitate to say, and it's not statistical, that there's more of the former than there is of the latter.
I agree.
Now, I guess what the robots are doing is kind of they're focused on the latter, right?
That's true, in a way.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, which one do you think is more efficient? Which one will result in a better output and a more successful business? Is it scenario number 1 or scenario number 2?
Well, I think it's scenario number 2, right?
Seriously, yeah. I 100% agree with you.
But why do many business owners, including myself back in the day, not anymore actually, but why do we flight to number 2? Sorry. Why do we flight to number 1?
I don't know, James. Honestly, I'm not a business owner yet.
I'll tell you why. I'll ask this.
I have no idea. Yeah.
It's because it's about trust, right? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, if you're in the chair and you're in there for the period of time, and I can see that you're working, I feel a sense of trust that you're actually doing the job, right? Mm-hmm. Where you know that's a very superficial way of assessing someone's.
It makes sense,
right?
But then again, do you think you should be working with someone you don't trust?
I don't know. What do you think?
If
Ask a robot.
I mean, they're not good at answering questions yet. Yeah, so I don't see why, personally, I would not go with scenario 1. If I ever get to the point where I have a business, hopefully, I would not go with scenario 1. No. And if it's the trust issue, I simply wouldn't work with someone who I don't trust. As I said, people pride themselves on the amount of effort they put into things. It's not really that important. Focus on what really matters. You work in a business. Your responsibility towards that business is to run the business. And that's the bare minimum. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Bare minimum of your responsibility to the work or your business that you're working for. Just keep it up and running. Now, if you want to be a very good employee and push things a little bit further, start thinking, it's like, how can I improve this business? How can I grow it? Mm-hmm. Now, I think if people stop wasting their times, or the business is only running by the robots, now the only way that lets people to contribute to as the business is like we all sit down and brainstorm. We either How
Yeah.
can we improve?
Yeah.
And something that I'm not saying that you need to incorporate robots in order to grow the company. We've seen big companies, a lot of companies
Yes.
grow even not using that big, huge scale automations. But you know what? Where it's going to be tricky, and actually where the beauty of it lies, is think about how about in a couple of years, if you're incorporating automation, you
Mm-hmm.
end up doubling your business and keeping your headcount of the company, or keeping it close to what actually is at the time.
Yeah, right.
So that's right there is a big achievement.
So do you think that's possible?
Oh, definitely possible.
Right.
And where I'm currently working at the moment, we are on the path of getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So where you are working at the moment, that's roughly a $5 million turnover business?
I'm not really sure about how much that
Yeah.
they're making, but yeah, it's give or take around that, yeah.
How many people in the business, roughly?
70, 60, 70 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a small but larger small business.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your day like? What do you do? Like, I think there's probably a lot of the audience that are business owners listening to this and thinking, wow, this sounds enticing. It sounds interesting. There might be an opportunity for me here, but then they're trying to understand, well, but how does it happen?
Okay.
You know, help us understand the down and dirty of what you do on a daily basis to bring it all together. Right?
All right. So I think the first step of setting up the automation would be like you need to really know what you want to automate. Speaking to if I have a project and if you want to sort of automate something in the finance team, okay, I'll need to understand the process very, very well. Because if I don't understand the process, I wouldn't be able to automate it. So RPA developers or RPA engineers are sort of business analysts in a way as well.
Yes.
Because you gotta sit down, you gotta analyze the business or the method of how the business is running, and
Yes.
try to move that into a robot with this knowledge
Yes.
and how the process is done,
Yeah.
and teach a robot how to do it. And yeah, so this is the first step that will happen when I have a new project I need to tackle. The first thing would be is like understand it very well, and I usually like to sort of ask if there's somebody on the team who would like to sort of work side by side. If at any point I have any questions or some things that are unclear, they're always ready there for me to help me out.
So a champion within the business. Yeah?
Exactly, a champion.
Yeah.
Listen, I've worked with different teams, different departments. I've had beautiful, wonderful teams, very enthusiastic, up into change, want to see this thing happening, tired and sick of doing these manual repetitive tasks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and like working with them is absolutely amazing. We've covered huge grounds and very, very quickly. There was challenges that, thanks to their help, because they understand the process more than I do.
Yes.
Yeah, we were able to solve big problems and come up with solutions to even bigger ones and get to the point where the automation needs to be. And now it's running at scale beautifully. And I got teams that were very reluctant to change. Something about the robots and the automation that even after I understand the process, okay, I spend some like sort of depends how big of the process automating and programming, how these robots are going to behave. But there's still a huge testing period. Now, see, robots, they sort of learn.
They learn.
During the training, during the testing period. And this is the most sensitive period and the most sort of annoying period, because you have to test to make sure these robots are very well. And they're going to start doing mistakes at first. But every time they do a mistake, you address it. And then slowly, what is going to happen, you start eliminating those mistakes from the possibility of actually a mistake happening. At some point, you'll cover every mistake, not to that point, or everything that could happen, where you're only left with a very refined solution.
So you teaching
that will be the end product.
So you teaching these robots during that process?
Yeah, it's like they make a mistake, nice slap on the wrist. Don't do that again. Do it in that way, and then they get back. And
is that a challenging role for you? Like, does that force you? Like, do you have a paradigm? Like, it's almost like, you know, a teacher in a school has a syllabus, right? That they teach, right? And so if the student performs within the syllabus, they get a tick. But if the student gets out of the syllabus or gets something wrong, they get a cross or a, you know, whatever.
Sure.
I mean, how do you look at it? Like, do you have a similar kind of approach, or does it really test your sort of intellectual position?
It does. Not every job is like the other. There is some elements that are carried over.
Yeah.
Some mistakes that you've done in the first projects, you'll not repeat, or you might run again through them in the second project.
Yeah.
So some of the knowledge overall do come in hand, but then again, you do face some challenges that really require you to get really up and thinking and try to move the process around.
Yeah.
I think the best way to put it, when I first started doing RPA, I tried to get the robot to do what humans are doing, and then but the thing is, you need to think like a robot thinks. And the way robot thinks are very, very sort of linear way. Yeah?
Sequential?
In a sequential way. It's not like, yeah, exactly, precisely. In a sequential way, linear sequential. It's not like a human's thing. So something that I've learned, and I recommend people really to have a look, if there's a look at it from that point of view, if in a similar environment or similar work, is like, try not to think like a human thinks. You're working with robots. Think like a robot would think, or like a computer would think. And that was a revelation to me, James. The second I was like, hold on a second, that makes absolute sense. The output will be the same. The process will be very similar.
Yeah.
But the way the robot would do it, it's not the similar way that a human would do it. I'll give you an example. Yeah, you're running reports. Yeah, you're jumping onto this finance software. You copying the information, pasting it down in Excel or whatever SQL database you're using. So what happens is you're going one by one and you are copying and pasting. What a robot would do is it'll go through like 100 of links or 100 of bills, yeah? Copy them all, store them in a data table, which is a variable.
Yes.
Yeah? Do whatever filtering and manipulation you need to do with the data and then paste it.
Yeah, right.
So it's really different from how a human would do it then.
Wow.
So that sort of thinking is just a very small example of what I say, like think like a robot would do. And then that will sort of help you solve a lot of issues that you might run into.
I mean, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So robots are learning, robots are thinking. Do they have feelings?
I don't like to. There's a lot of debate about it, a lot of philosophy behind AI and feeling. Listen, I'm an engineer. I think AI is a very...
Engineers don't have feelings, do they? Hey? Even human engineers, do they?
No. No, we don't have feelings, no. AI and these tools that are being developed are very, very, very powerful. Let's not complicate it. Let's not add philosophy to it, consciousness and emotions. Just use it. It's a tool. It's going to make your life better. Just use these tools and see how it goes.
But Laith, it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
Why?
Hey?
I mean,
is it?
Unless we run into a scenario where like a Terminator movie happens where AI...
Well, can you see that happening?
It's very hard to tell.
Well, yeah. I mean, you must have a window into it more than me.
It's a possibility. I'm not sure yet. We could reach AGI at some point, and then we have these artificial intelligence that are sort of as intelligent, or if not more intelligent than humans. And if that happens, we're doomed. So I really hope we don't get to that point.
Yeah.
But also, there's an aspect of it where it's sort of exciting if we get to that point, just to see what greater intelligence would be able to do on Earth, on the world as well. So.
Well, I mean, that's very interesting, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's very speculative, right? But I'm of the view, and I've got no stats to prove it, but I'm of the view that humans are a lot smarter than they give them credit for, right? And I think as humans, you know, we operate at about 6 out of 10. And actually, when we're really pushed and put in challenging circumstances, it's amazing what humans can actually achieve, right? The trick as a business owner or as yourself personally is to put yourself in an environment, if you're driven that way, to the point where you can get that higher power of excellence, right? And, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, we don't have all the keys and locks to unlocking that. But, you know, if you see some sports people and others, but even people in business, innovation is an amazing thing. I
agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And humans are amazing. I don't think humans were made to do repetitive tasks. I think humans were made to think. They're very smart. Most people are much smarter than they actually give themselves credit to.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, we know that for a fact because every single one of us have been faced with challenging situations where everything seemed doomed. but somehow we pull through and we come with this ingenious solution to it.
Yeah.
And that sort of goes for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
And this is what I'm trying to say at the beginning. When we pull people away from these repetitive, boring tasks, mind-numbing tasks,
Yes.
everybody starts to think, innovate, and grow. And I think this is precisely where we can get to the point where business could, not just the business, I mean, as an individual as well, when you don't have to do all those repetitive tasks, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
you spend half of your day doing work, the other half just thinking about, okay, now brainstorming, making decisions, moving things around, talking to people,
Yeah.
potential work, potential business partner, or whatever, or have more time for your personal life. And I think all of these things combined together will lead to a higher quality of life in general.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, we value businesses, right? That's one
Yeah.
of the core services that JPA Business does. And the very valuable businesses are ones where they have consistency of delivery of their business model. And so anything, including robots and AI and some of the things that you've been talking about, for certain businesses can add so much to that consistency. I mean, you know, because consistency is about service, whether it's an internal service or it's an external service to one's customers. And I think the other really successful businesses are the ones that are continually innovating, and they're not finding it's innovation, but it's somewhat incremental, but it's ahead of the game. And you'll see it with the really, really strong businesses. They never stand still. The goalposts are always changing, right?
True.
But it takes a lot of head power to do that, right? You don't do that by repetitive tasks. So, in the context of one of our services, I'm fascinated as to the opportunities that you're presenting. Now, we talked about what your day is like, and you said there's a lot of business analysis in terms of understanding processes, and then there's sort of marshalling the robots in place and getting them to go through a learning process. And in that process, is that where you make the links between the various systems, and start to basically run the repetitive processes that the humans would have done, to see how efficient they can be? I mean, is it sort of an incremental rollout, or is it we just plug them in and away they go, and then we learn from there?
So it really depends. It depends on how the process and what you need to automate. Let's say one of the projects I'm currently working on as well is there's this huge software, yeah, and we just use it for grabbing the deals. But from that software, what's going to happen is the data from that one software needs to be moved into 4 or 5 other softwares. One for finance, one for operations, one for tracking the time, one for tracking the time overseas, another one for factory people to sort of have a look at. Now, the way I would tackle this project is, instead of sort of plugging the whole thing together and just letting it run, I'll think about it as a tree, and I'll just one branch at a time.
Yes, okay.
So I'll tell people, keep doing what you're doing. I'll automate the first piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Test it out. When that's working fine, we'll move into the second one. You don't have to do the first one anymore, and just keep going until we got the full process.
Until you've covered the full tree.
The full tree. And that's good, because you slowly transition people into getting used into the automation. So I take, grab the lowest hanging fruit in a way.
Yes. Yeah. And just work from there.
Yeah. Because people in that way sort of also get adjusted to this automation slowly, instead of just having a full system going on. And it's easier as well. Less place for less error margin, less place for mistakes to occur as well.
Yeah.
Because you're working one piece of the puzzle at a time, and then we put it all together, just linking it, which is something doable easily as well.
What's the most satisfying thing you've done in the company that you're working in at the moment?
Oh, when you see a process that takes a week to get done, which is a huge report.
Yes.
When you get something like that being done in 2, 3, 4 hours even. Really? That's the most satisfying thing.
Wow. So you've achieved that, right?
Yeah. It's instant. As like a human would just copy and paste. The robot would look at hundreds of deals or hundreds of bills at a time and just move them all at once. And it's very repetitive. This month's, for example, this month report is very similar to last month.
Yeah.
It's just the names that are changing.
Yeah.
And that's something that robots shine at.
How does that robot feel about their work?
They have no feelings, John. Yes, but the robots, we got one of the automations, yeah, that sort of triggers itself overnight. And you wake up in the morning and you check in your email, and there's an email from your robot saying, the report has been completed. These are the successful bills. They're the unsuccessful bills. Why are they unsuccessful?
Yeah.
And like, there's also like certain part of the business that requires manual intervention. I think that's great because now not every bill is capable of being processed because there's some certain issues in certain cases that needs manual intervention, right?
Yes.
Now the robot will not touch those. Be like, okay, I'll do everything that is doable and what the business needs to be done, and the ones that require manual intervention, I'll highlight them for you. Don't go look through thousands of bills. Like these 4 or 5 bills, please have a look at them and let me know when they're ready. I'll process them for you.
So a degree of sort of almost exception reporting. In
Exactly.
That sense.
Yeah. So every day I wake up in the morning, I check in my email. Process have been completed. Another finance team get the same email as well. The successful, unsuccessful, and bills that have 2 or 3 or 4 more documents that need to be looked at and stuff like that. It could be customizable. This is how they wanted it to be done.
Yes.
This is how they got it. And if you want it to be done in a different way, sure thing. You can have it done in a different way.
Laith.
Yes.
You're on the last year of uni, right?
Yeah,
You're just about to graduate, are you?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
22?
Yes.
Wow. Any older and you can be dangerous, right? No, I'm interested, right? You've been doing a uni degree.
Yeah.
You've been also working in this business, yeah?
That's right.
This is not about robots. This question's about uni and you know, getting into the workforce, I guess. How have you found working in a business? Has your uni degree prepared you for what you've experienced at the workplace?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well or not so well?
What uni helped me do, uni sort of, you do all these tasks or these assignments that you think to yourself they're pointless. Oh, why am I doing this? It doesn't make sense. I'm never going to use it. But what really is happening is you're getting sort of adjusted to jumping into the workforce. And when you are in the workforce, it's a very similar situation. You're not being graded anymore. You got to do a good job. You got to get the results correct.
Yeah.
And so, bunch of it is, okay, I'm jumping into this. That's the assignment that I have for the day. And then I need to learn what needs to be done. And uni does prepare you in a way, especially because I did engineering.
Yes.
And I've done a lot of programming into multiple languages. And that really helped me get into RPA. It's like, now I know how sort of programming logic works.
Yes.
If I have anything that I don't know, we have a huge amount of information online for programmers to go have a look at and sort of solve any problems that you might be running into. But you need to have that logic. And I think that logic only comes from a lot of practice and very good education.
Yes,
and I think uni definitely helps you and give you credibility in terms of sort of getting these assignments done, having that programming or developing sort of logic.
What 3 words that describe your 3 best strengths personally? What would they be?
I'll say persistent.
Persistent.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that persistent as I don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound very cocky, but
I mean, it's only you and me and Nick here. We're not talking to anyone else yet.
I think that I'm very good at finding solutions to problems.
Problem solver.
Problem solver.
Oh well, that's exactly. 2. That's 2, even though it was 2 words.
At 2, I think
third one.
I'm confident.
You are confident.
Yes.
You come across confident.
I think confidence is also one of my strong suits.
Yeah. Are you curious as well?
Oh, extremely curious. True. Extremely curious.
Yeah. Does that help in your job in the business?
Yeah, you need, definitely. 100%. Because I'll tell you a story when I first started doing this RPA and work and how curiosity actually helped a lot. Yeah. So we're tackling this program where we need to grab some information from a different software, and I happened to stumble upon something on a software called Zapier, and I wanted to understand what Zapier has been in business for a while, and they do
Yeah.
automations between software, and I wanted to understand. Okay, that seems very easy. Why can't I just use that?
Yeah.
Now, what Zapier is doing is it's connecting APIs together. So every software, they create APIs for users to use, and they connect them together, and they create an automation process.
Yes.
And now I was very intrigued. So I did a lot of research, was very curious. So I had a look at what this API does and how does it work. And funny enough, a couple of years after, I had a project where I was integrating and using API.
Really?
So that knowledge that I've just been very curious about,
Yes. Yes.
I've came into a project where API would have been the perfect use case.
Yeah.
So being curious, trying to explore different solutions to different problems, definitely helps. If not in the project you're currently tackling, definitely there'll be a time, a place where it'll become very useful.
In your family or personal life or network, where do you get your inspiration from?
My father.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me about him.
He's a great man.
Is he?
He worked very hard to get to where he is at the moment, and he's
Yes.
a smart people's person.
What does he do?
He's a operations manager at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Operations manager, and he knows how to get things run in a systematic approach. And just looking up to him, I sort of really want to get to the point where he is. But he runs people. I want to run robots.
So what does he think about the gig that you're doing? Because he runs teams of people, right?
Yeah, he's like, get better at it, and maybe we can have a chat one day.
Oh, yeah, he might be looking to get you into his business.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's something definitely looking forward to it. Working with my father, that'll be a dream come true.
Really?
Yeah.
But why does he inspire you though? I'm interested to know what is it in him that you think, wow, that's amazing. I want to emulate that, or I want to respect it. I mean, is there anything particular that you sort of most respect?
I like. It's very. My father is a very special man, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah.
He's my hero. I've always been my hero.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's very hard to pinpoint one thing that I really think is amazing about him. But I just like his systematic approach to things. He's very calm in most scenarios.
Yes.
Very precise, well spoken, and that's something I really like. As if is in a systematic approach of things. Like he's very, very linear. Doesn't
logical.
Logical, exactly.
Yeah.
This is the word I'm looking for. Very logical, and yeah, that's something I love about him, and I try to incorporate that in my life, work life, and everything.
So if I was to look in your clothes drawers, is everything sort of neatly packed, sort of, and is your desk sort of neatly arranged? Like,
No.
like does it extend to that?
It's for someone who's coming from the outside, I think it's a mess. But for me, it's an organized mess.
It's all organized.
It's an organized mess, but that's how I like it to be. Because I know where everything is in a way. Yeah, it's an orthodox way, a mess in a way. It's ordered in a way, but not how people usually.
I know, I get it.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with creative people? How do you find that interaction? Because you said yourself, which is interesting, right? Like in your terminology, you're not creative, right? And so when you come up against a creative person, an artist or a muso or someone that's just, 1 minute they're thinking here and the next minute they're thinking here and the next minute they're not thinking at all. And
it's fascinating. I have a lot of friends who are creative, into different, some of them, marketing, for example, requires a lot of creative, and that's something robots will never be able to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of marketing and art, musician or whatever. The way of thinking is it fascinates me a lot, and I really like having conversations with them because you sort of touch on things that you usually wouldn't think about in a way, because they're very creative and it comes with thinking and problem solving as well. I love to work with people who are creative on a team or on a project.
Because it challenges you?
Because we complete each other in a way.
Yes.
Because if I'm running into a problem that's very, very hard to solve, and I try to think of all the orthodox way for me to have a look at, creative people on my team will sort of point me in the right direction or nudge me in the right direction. And then if I explore more into that direction,
yes,
most cases that's actually the solution. So, and I think in business as well, it also works out. In business, you need two type of people. the sort of creative entrepreneurial type,
Yes.
and then you need the
Structured.
structure managerial type to get things done.
So you
And
know,
I think these two combinations are extremely powerful.
yeah, the way I I don't want to diminish this by summarising, but the way I would talk about that, and I think you're spot on.
Yeah, thanks.
For a guy in your young years, you've got a degree of insight and maturity that many business owners would love to have. I think it's about having ideas, an ideas person, but also a delivery person, right?
Exactly.
Because one can have the best ideas and the best innovation, but ultimately in business, to deliver the goods, you've got to take the idea and be able to deliver it.
100%.
Right.
Make it real.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it must be fascinating and enjoyable for in what you're doing, because you're helping. Well, you're helping on both those. If you look at it, right, you mightn't be creative, but in a way, you've got to. You've got to be creative to the extent of coming up with a different process to link those robots to make them deliver something.
I think there is an element of creativity that comes into it, because it's architecture in a way. You architecture the process. You need to sort of add these blocks, and connect these blocks with arrows. Think of arrows as pathways, and in these arrows are conditions. If while sort of conditions that when things need to be happening in a way, you follow this path. If not, you gotta follow the other path. See the creativity, and I think that sort of differs from someone who is sort of artistic or musician creativity.
Yes.
My creativity revolves around getting the process refined or getting it done. I'm not sure if I'm making a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But it's not pretty. I'm building an app at the moment using Power Apps. It's nothing crazy, but try to use Power App and tools like Power Automate or UiPath to sort of connect the dots and make things work in an automated manner. The app works wonderful. It doesn't look pretty at all. So getting someone who is creative in a way that knows how to make things look pleasant.
Yes.
And where someone will have a look at it and be like, because people are using these still.
Yeah.
You need to have it user friendly. It's like, oh, this is amazing. I'd love to use this.
Yeah.
This is good. It works as it intends to work.
But unless
now we're waiting for the creative person to sort of have a look at it.
To make it user friendly.
Precisely. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, we touched a bit on the ethics of AI and robots, right? And you talked about musicians, right?
Yeah, it's guys.
So musicians, right? Like a couple of years ago, about 18 months ago, I went to London, and I don't know your age and stage, whether you know the singing group ABBA. 50 years ago, they won Eurovision, right? And so they've just put out a digital roadshow where they've built their own studio in London, and you can go to a concert with the 4 ABBA singers and sit there in a mosh pit with 5,000 other people for 2.5 hours and listen to their songs, right? They're a Swedish pop group. Now, and not one of them are there. They're all holograms, right? And the music is them. Well, I thought it was because I was there, right? But it's all digitally delivered. Recently, John Lennon, the song that he wrote was never produced, was produced using digital technology.
Yeah, true.
Is it right or wrong?
Is it right or wrong? It's a very good question. As I said to you, James, I usually don't tend to think about things in that manner. I think AI is a great tool. Like, listen, you went to our concert. Did you enjoy the music?
Bro, I had the best time.
Precisely.
My wife and I sat there, right? Like, we grew up with this music.
Exactly.
And to be honest, these 2 females, 2 males, walking across the stage, dancing, playing the piano, colours, lights. We were at an ABBA concert. And yet, there was no human flesh on the stage.
All
right? But it was absolutely mind-blowing, right?
And this is exactly what I'm trying to get at. Is these technologies and advancements in AI and imaging and processing in all sort of manners, like when you put all these together, you get to sort of have a very nice experience. And if you enjoyed their music, if you enjoyed the experience, then I think they've done a wonderful job. And it's not wrong, no.
No. I love it. I got the last question.
Yes.
When you're not hurting your robots or making them do what they need to do, what do you like enjoying?
I like playing soccer, team sports.
Oh, do you play soccer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. Had a
Yeah.
match yesterday, lost miserably, but still.
Oh, really? What position do you play?
It was a forest side, a small player.
Okay.
But usually, if I'm playing 11 aside, I like to be a winger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you follow any teams? So what do you follow?
Yes, Real Madrid.
Real Madrid,
All the
of
way.
course,
All
eh?
the way. Oh, since I was a kid, just like my old man.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've got another podcast guest that is just a little bit before you,
Yeah.
Bomber Marshall, and he, shout out to Bomber, and he follows Real Madrid as well.
Sweet.
But
Must be a great person.
yeah, he must be a weird person. Why do you follow them? Just because your dad did?
No, I love the way they play. I mean, usually
Yeah.
when I was a bit younger, I want to copy what my dad does, but then grew up a little bit more and I start to understand the game, and I love the way they play. I mean, come on, they're really good. They've won
They are very good.
multiple times now. So
Yeah, no, they're very good, and it's a good example. And some of the players that have been through there are good examples of what humans can do beyond what they thought their strengths were.
exactly, yeah.
But talking about robots and AI, Laith, I really want to thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much, James.
I mean, I think we and the business community are in good shape if we've got robot marshals like you, engineers and others, because the way you've taken us through that world and how it's applicable to even a small and mid-sized business. It's within the grasp, and it is a lever in a highly competitive market, as you've said. Sometimes it's war out there for business, and so it's not just about cost savings and getting rid of people and replacing them with something you can't see. It's about redeploying those skills to higher order skills that can drive the value of the business and the opportunities.
I love the way you've put things.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and look, it's an absolute pleasure getting to know you, man, and I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to hopefully working together in the future.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to build more robots for more people. Let's see how that happens.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Thanks, Laith. That was Laith, our robot expert. And wow, 22 and making difference in a business in such a practical way, which I find myself kind of querying why I'm saying practical, because it's robots and digital technology and AI and all these things that are hard to understand, but they're real. And as business people, I think we need to embrace the opportunities. Whether we take them up or not, that's an individual business decision, but there's such a lot of opportunities for increased productivity and enhancing the value of a business that it's hard not to have a look at. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to this podcast and follow us on Instagram at JamesC_Price. And if you're up for improving your business, gaining access to knowledge, insights, our team, and consultations, join our online membership portal. Visit jpabusiness.com.au.